What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, back again with another deck profile. Today we're going to be checking out a list for Perfect Performance Ange. This is one of the many decks that came out of Twinkle Melody we just recently got support for. They brought this over to V Premium or Standard, whatever you really want to call it. So super excited to get into this with you guys. I think this is definitely one of the more competitive decks in the set. Your whole deck is kind of like a toolbox. You have a lot of different multi-attack potential as well. I'll get to that in just a little bit. So really like this deck. We have a couple other deck profiles coming up too, so if you haven't already, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button to check those out as well. But without further ado, let's jump right into the deck list and get started. Alright, before we begin the profile, I just wanted to quickly note, this list was actually inspired by a winning deck list I saw out of Japan. They incorporated like this multi-attack engine in it, and I was trying a bunch of other things. I looked at that and said, you know what, why don't I give this a shot? And I really ended up really liking it. Very effective. I find that it's not too hard at all to get it off, so just wanted to kind of give credit where credit is due. I did get inspired by that list, but obviously a couple personal touches in this that I'm going to go over in the profile. So starting right off with our grade 3 boss unit, this is the main unit herself. This is Perfect Performance Ange. Her skill on auto on Vanguard Circle is when it attacks a Vanguard, you get to counterblast 1, choose any number of normal units on any player's rearguard circles, and return them to hand. Activate all the effects below according to the number of cards returned. 2 or more, this unit gets an additional 10,000 until the end of turn. 3 or more, we get an imaginary gift force. And 4 or more, search our deck for up to 1 unit card, call it to rearguard circle, and shuffle our deck. So a lot to unpack here. Obviously, the 4th skill here is probably the most impactful, allows you to multi-attack and kind of turn your whole deck into a toolbox. Like, we can go and get whatever we want and bring it out to a rearguard circle. Very effective overall. You can also clear the field too, so you're not hard negging and calling on top of that card that you will be replacing, which is really nice because we are returning everything to hand. Its 3rd skill, get that an extra imaginary gift force, allows us to play like 2 different ways. So if we reride every single turn, we're getting 2 force markers then per turn. We can stack that on 1 rearguard circle and really beef up one of our units if we're going for that singular multi-attack engine I'm going to show you in just a little bit. You can choose to kind of spread out the love a little bit and put force markers wherever just to get a more consistent overall kind of pressure on our board. So I really like this card. I'm definitely not really using force 2 too much with it. I find I haven't really tried too many games with that yet. I find that force 1 just definitely is more effective. We're really looking to close out games by our 2nd grade 3 ride, maybe our 3rd sometimes. Our hand size is decent in this deck, but yeah, that's 2 or more skill allows us just to get that additional 10,000, just put that little pressure. We don't need to be boosting with anything. You know, you can have 1, 2, 3, and 4 rear guards. You don't need to attack this other one. I'll show you why in a couple minutes, just when we get a little bit deeper into the profile. But yeah, it allows you just to get a little bit more power on the Vanguard. Definitely a solid card overall. I definitely think this is one of the better cards out of the Twinkle Melody set, one of the better deck lists in general, or archetypes I guess I would call it. Yep. Alright, next up, that multi-attack engine that I am talking about. So this is 4 of Perfectionist Lyriquour. Her skill on auto on Vanguard rearguard circles, when it attacks, hits a Vanguard, we get to search our deck for a drop zone for up to 1 Perfectionist Lyriquour, reveal it, and put it into our hand. If we did search our deck, we then shuffle our deck. Its 2nd skill, auto on rearguard circle, when it attacks, discard 2 Perfectionist Lyriquour from your hand, stand this unit, and draw 2 cards. So also a lot kind of going on here. This helps us to apply pressure throughout the game, just because if your opponent knows how to play against this card, they know that they're going to have to block it so that it doesn't restand and go and fetch another unit from the drop or your deck. So this is nice because you're not afraid to maybe use these as PG fodder and drop them into your drop zone, because you can go fetch them off of this skill, which is really nice. The 2nd skill too, I find that it's a lot easier. When I first read it, I was like, I don't know, it's kind of gonna be hard to get off consistently, but we're searching and digging through our deck a lot. I find that I'm always pretty much able to get either this or another card off with the multi-attack engine, so I really dig it. I think this is a great addition to the deck. I think it complements Ange really well, so I'm running it at a 4 of. Next up, this is like the main grade 3 I think that most people really run, but I am just running it at 2 of its skill. This is a Choo Choo Debut Stage Tura. Its skill, auto on Vanguard Circle. When placed, we get to choose any number of normal units on any player's rearguard, and then return them to hand. If 3 or more cards were returned, this unit gets 15,000 until the end of turn. So we're not really playing this for the Vanguard skill. Not the worst thing in the world if we have to ride it, but we always want to be on Ange. That's our main target. Its 2nd skill, on Van or rearguard circles, once per turn. At the end of battle that it attacked, if 3 or more of any player's rearguards were returned this turn, we get to counterblast 1, discard a card from our hand, and stand this unit. And if it gets drive -1 until the end of turn, not really relevant to the rearguard circle, but even still. So I like this at 2 of, just because it costs a little bit more to get that multi-attack off than the Lyriquour. I think that Lyriquour is a little bit, there's no like hard cost necessarily. Like you're getting 2 cards away from your hand and then you're drawing another 2. I think I forgot to mention that also, just filtering a bit deeper. But if we're kind of like forced, if we don't have copies of her or this other grade 2, I'll show you in just a second, in our hand, I think this is a really good strategy, or really good backup. Like if you stack all your force markers on one rearguard circle, you know, she can swing for a really powerful attack twice. So I really like that. Maybe you drive check a crit with your Vanguard, put it on her, she attacks twice then, after you called her from deck. So, and we're not really concerned with discarding from hand because we are bouncing cards back to our hand from Ange. So overall, I think this card really complements her. Just a good multi-attack card as well. That's kind of the theme of Ange, just multi-attack pressure over and over. Alright, that is it actually for our grade 3s. Moving into our grade 2s then, we are starting off with Cerulean Jewelry Facet. So 4 copies of her. This is the counterpart to Rylenka. Her skill, pretty much identical to Rylenka on ban or rearguard circle. When this attack hits a Vanguard, search your deck or drop zone, go up to one of Cerulean Jewelry Facet, reveal it and put it into your hand, and then if we search our deck, we get to shuffle our deck, and then when it attacks, we get to discard 2 copies of this card, and then discard 2 of those from our hand, and then stand this unit and draw 2 cards. So again, filtering out, putting those in the drop zone. Not too bad at all. Like I really feel like this card actually helps us a bit more in the early game than a lot of others, because if you place this down on rearguard circle, I know a lot of people like to take rearguard hits and just guard out the Vanguard, whatever the case may be, but if they do that, if they again know how to play against these things, they're basically saying, all right, I'm going to give you a multi-attack for next turn, which most people don't want to do that. So you're making them dump cards early from their hand, which is really, really nice. I think this card just works really well overall and is a good solid backup for that Rylenka. Like let's say, again, this is your second grade 3 ride, you have 2 of these in hand, you can call one of these out from the deck and just restand her twice. You know, you have at that point like 4 force markers on one rearguard circle. You're going to be looking at a 50k attack. You have no idea what triggers you're also going to drive. So very, very effective. I do like this multi-attack engine. I think it's working really, really well. I've been testing it out. I'm a big fan. Alright, moving on to our next grade 2 then, we are looking at 4 copies of a staple. This is Choco Loveheart Liselet. So I know this has been around for a long time, since the, I think the trial deck came out, yeah. So continuous in hand, this can be called as a grade 1 on your grade 1 turn. You can call it down for its second skill. Its second skill is auto on van or rearguard circle. When placed, we look at the top card of our deck, call it to rearguard circle, or put it into our soul. This ability may only be used by a card with the same name once per turn. So very effective for filling the board for Ange. We don't really need to pull extra cards from our hand, even though they bounce back. This really just nets us like a hard plus. I really, really like that about this card. And I don't think there's too much that honestly uses soul in this deck, but if you really need it and you want to slot in other cards maybe that do use soul, this is good just to soul charge that as well. So this in culmination with like the next card I'm going to go over just nets you like crazy advantage, and like I hate to say that you're going to probably win the game, but your game is probably going to go pretty well if you have this and the next card. So let's get into that. This is 2 copies of Top Idol Aqua. So I know a lot of people are actually running this at 4 of. I'll explain why I'm running it at 2 of in just a second. But its skill is continuous on banner rearguard circle during our turn. If we have any other unit in the same column as this guy, it gets an additional 5k. Its second skill, ban or rearguard circle, when placed, return up to one of our other normal units on rearguard circle to our hand. And if we return a card, draw a card, and discard a card from our hand. This ability may only be used with a card with the same name once per turn. So the reason I'm running 2 of these is basically that there's not like a ton that we really need on place, a ton of cards we need on place skills for. I find that in other decks, like they have cards that, you know, you place it down, it does whatever the main strategy is looking to do. You know, maybe that's a top 5 search, top 7, whatever the case may be. We don't really have that in this deck. I think the deck kind of functions fine without it. Just a really good card overall, though. It is good to just filter and get a little bit deeper into our deck, maybe dig for some of those pieces that we need for those restands, so I like it for that. Also, its first skill is pretty cool too, because if you were boosting this with just an 8k rearguard, you're essentially, if your opponent is a Force Vanguard on their grade 3 and they hit a defensive trigger, you're still going to get over it because this at least hits 23, so pretty good in that regard. Yeah, really solid card overall. You can up it if you'd like to, but I am choosing to run just a couple other things in the deck. Last grade 2 actually is one of those. This is one of Pearl Sisters Perla. I know kind of a wonky choice, I guess, but I'm finding it does work. It's pretty solid overall. Continuous on in anywhere actually. Continuous. you may only have one copy of this card in our deck, so we're not allowed to run more than one because of its second skill. Continues on Rearguard Circle. All of our Pearl Sisters Perla get on Rearguard Circle, get an additional 20,000 and a crit. So this is obviously a spoiler alert, we are running the grade 1 counterpart in here so we can get this skill off, but this is kind of important because let's say we have Ange as our Vanguard, we have either this or the other Pearl Sister in our hand. We basically call her down, call Ange, and then we call 1, 2, 3, and then 4 other rear guards. So we're going to get that ability to search out a card from our deck. You're going to call the counterpart, whichever one it is, if you have the grade 1 and vice versa. You're going to call that to the open rear guard circle that you're going to create, and basically you have 2 super juiced attacks in the front row. They both hit, I believe, for 28k because the other one is a grade 1. Really effective overall. Like if we're stacking a bunch of triggers on just one circle, we are basically saying that, hey, look, I'm trying to close out the game, I'm hitting you with 2 crits, I'm kind of getting that force 2 nature in my deck anyway. So I really like it. I think it's definitely a tech. You don't have to run this. You can up Aqua, can up other things if you want, but I find that it does work. And like I said, our deck is a toolbox for Ange, and we can call out whatever it is we want. So we can call out the card that pairs with this one pretty easily. So yeah. All right, moving right into our grade 1s then. First off, starting with Mermaid Idol Sedna. So obvious reasons we're running this. This is the grade 3 Searcher. I'm really glad they brought this to Bermuda, helps us out a lot. Its skill continues on van or rearguard circles during our turn. If we have another unit in the same column as this unit, it gets an additional 5,000. So that's actually a really easy criteria to hit, especially in Bermuda. Its second skill is the typical V-Series top 5 Searcher. You look for a grade 3. If you add a grade 3 to hand, you ditch a card from your hand, so just a little filter there. Just helping with rod consistency because we never want to be on any of our other grade 3s. We always want to be on Ange, so very helpful in that regard. Again, glad that they made these and made them a box topper, honestly, because I have a ton of different decks for Bermuda now. I just didn't want to buy, the more expensive versions, I guess, for all of them necessarily, so just have a triple rare and a couple. But next up, we're looking at 4 of Special Message Aurora. I always screw that up, sorry. On Van or Rearguard Circle, when placed, we get to draw a card and then discard a card from our hand. This ability may only be used once per turn with a card with the same name. So basically, this is just a little bit digging, a little bit filtering in our deck. This also pairs well with the Vassive and Rolenka because we can ditch that from our hand if we want, and we not really have to worry because we can retrieve it out from the drop zone with another copy of its own ability. I feel like this just kind of helps us dig into the deck at whatever it is that we really need a little bit faster, so not bad overall. You can swap that, yeah, if you want, but no big deal. I think the next 3 are kind of the biggest flex spot. I'm trying these guys out. I tried a couple other things. I kind of like them just because it helps us with one thing I'll mention in just a second, but its skill, this is Equitable Career Splana. Its skill, auto on rearguard circles. When placed, we may return a card with the same card name as our grade 3 card on our van or rearguard circle from our drop zone to our deck. If we did return a card, we get to shuffle our deck and countercharge 1. So this is good because, like I said, I've been saying over and over, Ange is allowing us to go through our deck and just toolbox it all. We can call whatever grade 3 that is, if that's the Rolenka, right out to rearguard circle. Maybe it's the Tyrio. So if our opponent is really trying to counterstar us, this helps us get around it because we do need a counterblast for Ange. We absolutely need one to get that skill off and really not allow our opponent to maybe buy some time. So yeah, I like this card. You can swap it, like I said. There are a lot of different options for grade 1 in Bermuda. You could possibly swap it out for the extra shield grade 1, the double rare. I forgot the name off the top of my head, but it's another good card. But I find that our hand size generally is pretty good. We don't need like a ton of shield, I find, yeah, in general. So my last card, obviously, like I said, spoiler alert before, but this is Pearl Sisters Perla with an E. Also, you may only have one copy of this card in your deck, and then again, its secondary skill is all of our Pearl Sisters Perla. On Rearguard Circle, get an additional 18,000 plus an extra crit. So again, just a really effective way if you have this in your hand, tutor the other one out with Ange, and then have a really powerful 2 crit swing. I personally like it. I think it works well. I know a lot of people don't run it, but I think it's something to try. I've been seeing decent success with it. I think it does apply a pretty nice pressure overall. Moving right into our triggers, our grade 0s, we are looking at a very standard lineup here. Nothing too crazy at all, nothing too spicy. I am running 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. I just find that this works. Like I said, our hand size is pretty healthy overall. We're not a deck that absolutely needs to close out on grade 2 or anything on our second grade 3 ride. So I find that the longevity of the draws and just the overall protection is pretty neat. Obviously a starter as well, so nothing too crazy, just very simple. If you guys do want to switch it up, maybe, add at least one Sentinel crit, you can do that. You can play around a little bit, but I find this is fine. Like, our hand size is healthy, we apply a good amount of pressure with those 8 crit, and obviously we'll want to heal out, so yeah. Let's hop into a test stand. I'll show you guys how the deck kind of plays out, some of the decisions you can make along the way, and then yeah, if you guys did learn anything during this deck profile, I am asking that maybe you possibly consider hitting subscribe on the channel, maybe leaving a like on this video, but without further ado, let's jump right into that test stand. Alright, let's shuffle up this deck over here. This has honestly been super fun. I'm really enjoying this deck. I think that there are a lot of decisions to make while the game is going on, so I feel like you do need to maybe practice this deck and just learn the ins and outs of matchups a bit more maybe than some other of the Bermuda decks that kind of just do their own thing, but honestly, I am enjoying it. I think it's a really, really great deck. I'm glad that they brought this back to Standard, or V Premium, whatever you want to call it now. Let me know your guys' thoughts too on Overdress, if you guys are excited and whatnot, if you're still going to play V Premium, or you plan on just playing, you know, regular Premium, whatever the case may be. But let's see if I shuffle this up enough. Maybe just give it a pile or two. 1, 2. Alright. Let's jump into it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What did we get here? Alright, not too bad. It's not too hard to find Ange. I feel like I'm just going to put back this one. We do kind of want to keep our Pearl Sister just in case we want to have a turn like that starting off. We are going to pretend that we go first, so it could be impactful. Alright. Okay, here we'll trigger. Yeah, if you open up with that Pearl Sister combo and they're still on grade 2, it's really, really it's difficult for your opponent. Alright. Especially if they tried getting aggressive in their grade 2 turn, definitely means could spell disaster for them. Alright, let's stand and draw. Pretend we go first, like I said. We are going to then ride her. We're going to draw off of that, and then we are also going to draw off of her skill and then ditch another. So we do have a passive grade 3. We don't want to ride this one, and again, it's fine if we do ditch these things. So I'm going to ditch her because we can fish her out with her own skill. We're not going to be able to really ride her. We don't want that in our hand. Alright, but over to our opponent then. There's nothing else we want to do in hand. Only once per turn with that. Yeah, over to our opponent. Probably these a lot, but I need a grade 2. Alright, take a damage for their turn, and then we're going to stand and draw. Got her right back, look at that. Alright, we're going to ride Lyriquour, and we're also going to look at the top card of our deck. What do we want to do? We're going to call this to Rearguard Circle, definitely call it to Rearguard Circle, because we want to apply that early game pressure there. And just to kind of search for the Ange, let's see if we can, yeah, let's put her here, because we want to hit with her. We're then going to draw a card, and then we're going to drop a card. So boom, like we said, we want that Ange. What can we drop? Let's drop the 15k shield because we kind of want her for the multi-attack later on. Very nice. All right, proceeding to swing with this. Let's say they take that. I'm going to search my deck for a copy of this. Let's search her out. There she is. All right, add that to hand because it did hit. Alright, we're going to then drive, check, and swing with our Lyriquour, and then boom, do hit a critical trigger. I was feeling that, I knew it happened. Alright, over to our opponent. Let's assume we take 1 damage. It is a trigger, so you know what? We're going to call it at that one, say that shuts off their turn. I think we're good there then. Stand up and draw. Alright, we're going to ride our Ange right here. We're then going to get a force marker. What do I want to do? I'm going to put it on her, but this is what I'm going to do, I think. Yeah. Because if I can get 2, yeah, so when it hits, I can basically not want an attack, so I'd have to call another one out from deck. Let's see, I might do this and then save my Rylenka, but I'm going to try to do the Pearl Sister combo here. I'm going to show you guys what I was talking about. Because I do have another one of these in my hand. I can call another one of her if I hit. It's hard because they probably caught on at that point, and I want to save her for my next one, I think. Like I said, just a lot of different options that you can do. I can call her down. I can try to get the multi-attack off with her as well. But I think I'm being on grade 3 first, going against grade 2, I think I want to pull off a Pearl Sister combo to put them in a bad spot for the rest of the game. So let us then, I have 1, 2, 3, I need 4. So anything else that I want? No, we'll just toss her down, doesn't really matter. Call her there. Yeah, we'll call that there. Alright, we're then going to swing with her. swing. Yeah, we'll swing with her. This is going to be 10, 20, 28, 28. Do we want to say this hits? Let's flip a card. If it lands, I guess, right side up, we were going to say it hits. That kind of sucks, but nah, let's say this does not hit. So then we're going to go into our Pearl Sister combo here. We are then going to swing actually with her. We are going to return 1, 2, no, we actually needed to call another, call another rear guard. I'm just going to call her. And then we're going to swing with Ange, counterblast 1, return 4 units to our hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, cool. And then we are going to, 4 units to our hand, yep. And then we're going to search our deck for a Pearl Sister Perla with the A. Kind of do want to maybe do this in the early game too, just because you don't want to damage these things out, make the other card dead. But oh wow, look at that, it's right on top of the deck, Jesus. Alright, we're going to call that out and we get another gift marker. Wow, let's spread the love here and make them both 38k columns. Just because they might not be on a ton of damage right now, we just want to what is that? We want to just spread it out a bit. Like if you put everything on one rearguard circle with the Pearl Sister combo, they're basically gonna be like, okay, I'll take 2 damage. Maybe they hit, you know, like a defensive trigger or 2 possibly because you're swinging with this, then that. You would maybe leave this dead in the water, like you couldn't actually hit with it. So we don't want to do that. We want to spread out our force markers for that. But from here on out for the multi-attack engine, I think we want to spam force markers on just 1 column. So now this is going to be a 23k attack. Let's drive twice. 1. Let's go power. Let's assume we don't heal. Let's go, I guess, power here. Doesn't really matter. And then 2. Ooh, crit. Let's do all 1. So this is where you juice up 1 column. All right. Let's swing with her. Make them guard out. And then boom, maybe we even swing for game there, who knows, but let's assume we do not. We're going to pass it over to our opponent, and they are going to hit us once, they're going to hit us twice, maybe a 3rd time, I don't know, do we want to let them hit a 3rd time? I think we can, now we can start the guard, we have a lot of, 1, 2, boom, another guard, it's fine, that's their turn, alright, cool. You're going to stand and draw. Look at this. Be useful for Relenka. So yeah, let's toss it down, can't hurt. Calling that top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 there, nothing there. Alright. How do I want to go about this? So let's see. So we're gonna do this is actually decent. So I am going to, so we have 2 of her in our hand. What I'm going to do is I'm still going to attack with the Pearl Sisters and really just apply that pressure early on. And then on top of that, I'm going to call one of her from deck and I'm going to get a multi-attack off of her as well. So I got 1, 2, 3. I need 1 other rear guard. Does not matter really what it is. Let's see, when placed. Do I have any other? No, I don't have a rear guard in here. I'm not going to return that to deck either. We don't really need that. We don't need the counter charge either at the moment. I could call her. I don't really drop anything from my hand. Potentially, whatever it is, we can drop. We'll draw, and we'll just drop. Who do we want to drop? We'll drop her. We don't really need her. At least that's really good, actually. All right, so let us proceed into the battle phase. I'm going to swing. This is 28, 38, 38 plus 13. Then that is, what's that? 51, right? Yeah, 51. 2 crit. And then we are going to go, what is she? She is 28 plus that is 38. Very nice. We are then going to swing, going to use skill, going to retire 1, 2, 3, and 4 to our hand, or I'm sorry, call it back to our hand. Then we are going to search our deck, counterblast 1. Did I counterblast? No, did not. Counterblast 1, bring out that grade 2. The same situation could apply for that grade 3 if we had it in our hand, but we're going to call her there. We unfortunately didn't ride again, so it's not as beefed up of a column as it could be, but we'll see if we get lucky on triggers again like that. It could really make or break the game. We're then going to add another force marker over here, get her even bigger. This is nice. And then she is 23k. We're going to twin drive 1, add it here, draw. And then 2. All right, we did get 1 trigger, not too bad. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a 40k attack. Going to swing 40k, and then we're going to use her skill. We're going to discard 2 of her from our hand. 1, 2. And we are then going to stand her and also draw 2 cards. 1 and 2. So, like I said, I mean, we did guard out quite a bit our last turn. The hand size in this deck is just really nice. I find that you always have a decent size in your, just hand in general. Then we're going to swing one last time. So yeah, that is the basic gist of the deck. Like I said, there are a lot of different avenues that you can take, a lot of different play styles that you can go through. If you want to just spam all their force markers on one side of it, I feel like that's not the wrong way to play either. I think in that case, just for the Pearl Sister early open up kind of combo, we do want to spread the love a little bit. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know any questions you have in the comment section below. If you guys have any suggestions on how you would build the deck, or just general ideas in general, just let me know. And then thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. This is Alex from Team Generations signing out.